My friends imagine walking into a wedding so expensive it smells like generational wealth and poor decisions, and the groom turns around smiling because he thinks you're there to bless the union. Now, imagine the bride is your ex, and the groom is your cousin. Yeah, keep it in the family, right? My friends, I am Scarlet Veil, and today, I'm telling you a story that still makes my skin crawl. Welcome to the channel Lying Whispers, where love letters turn into subpoenas and vows come with a side of vengeance. And yes, we're going to talk about whether the person who ruined a wedding was a monster or simply an artist. So do me a favor, subscribe, drop a like, comment what you do, and share this with that one friend who says I hate drama but knows everyone's business. And stay until the end because the speech at this wedding? Oh, it didn't just burn bridges. It salted the earth.
Pegue café ou a bebida de sua preferência e acompanhe essa história absurda comigo.
He used to think his life was clean, simple, predictable. Ethan had one of those quiet, steady kinds of happiness, an apartment that felt like home, a job that didn't eat his soul, and a girlfriend who looked at him like he was the last decent man in the city. Her name, well, call her Mara, because I'm not about to dox anyone. She had that polished, I'm nice smile that makes older women call her marriage material. And Ethan? He was the kind of man who believed that if you love someone hard enough, the universe stops being cruel. Adorable. His cousin Jace was basically his brother in everything but paperwork. Same family holidays. Same childhood summers. Same inside jokes. Same stupid haircut phases. Ethan looked up to Jace, which, in retrospect, is like looking up to a ceiling fan and being shocked when it chops off your trust. One Thursday, Ethan got offered an early shift cover by a coworker. Had a brutal week. His body felt like it was made of wet sand, and all he wanted was to go home and collapse into his bed like a Victorian woman with the vapors. So he went home early. And oh, he did collapse. Just not in the way he planned. He opened the bedroom door quiet, tired, brain half asleep, and saw two people in his bed. His bed. His sheets.
His life.
Mara, naked under his comforter, laughing like she wasn't about to become a villain in the comments. And Jace, his cousin, the man Ethan called family, looking up like a kid caught stealing cookies. Except the cookie was Ethan's girlfriend. Ethan didn't scream. He didn't throw anything. He didn't do the dramatic movie thing where you punch a wall and somehow still look hot. He just stood there, silent, and felt something inside him go cold. Mara gasped, pulled the sheet up, and tried to talk. Jace stammered like this isn't what it looks like, which is always what it looks like when you're naked in someone else's bed. Ethan's voice came out calm. I want you gone by the time I come back. Then he turned around and left. And I know what you're thinking, my friend Scarlet. Why didn't he set the bed on fire? Because Ethan still had a conscience. They didn't. He walked for hours. No destination. No plan. Just the city lights and the taste of betrayal like pennies on his tongue. When he finally returned, they were gone. Mara left a note. A note. Not a conversation. Not accountability. A little paper apology like she was returning a defective sweater. I'm sorry. Call me when you calm down. My friends, if someone tells you to calm down after detonating your life, they're not sorry. They're managing your reaction. Ethan didn't call. He texted.
Short.
Surgical. He told her he'd pack her things and drop them off at Jace's place. Because apparently that's where she lived, now right next to the Audacity. He followed through. It took about a week to untangle their shared life.
Clothes. Books.
Random kitchen gadgets she swore were hers. Ethan didn't fight. He didn't cry in front of them. He didn't give them the satisfaction of watching him bleed. He knocked, handed the bags to whoever opened the door, and left. Jace called him. Over and over. I'm sorry, bro. Ethan never answered. Because what do you say to someone who stabbed you and then asks for a hug? 3 years passed. 3 years of silence. No family announcements. No big confrontation at Thanksgiving. No messy Facebook posts. Ethan didn't even tell the rest of the family what happened. Not because he was protecting them. Because he was protecting himself. Sometimes you don't speak about a wound because you know people will poke it to see if you still flinch. And Ethan already knew what kind of family he had, the kind that would ask, but what did you do to make them cheat?
Yeah.
Those families exist. They walk among us. They bring potato salad. Then one day, Ethan got a call from an unknown number. He answered and heard Jace's voice bright, cheerful, like he wasn't the human equivalent of a slippery stare. Ethan.
Hey.
It's me. Jace talked like they were old friends who simply lost touch, not like one of them had detonated the other's future. Then he dropped it. He and Mara were getting married, and he wanted Ethan to be his best man.
My friends, let me ask you something.
What kind of person asks the man you betrayed to stand beside you while you celebrate the betrayal? What's next? Asking your dentist to be best man after you bite him? Ethan exploded. He yelled. He called Jace names that would make a sailor clutch pearls. Then he hung up. Jace texted minutes later. The offer stands. If you don't want to, I just won't have one. And for a few days, Ethan simmered in that rage. Not the hot rage. The cold rage. The kind that makes you polite while you plan. Then Ethan had an idea. A terrible, brilliant idea. He texted back. He apologized. He wrote a paragraph of pure, concentrated nonsense about healing, forgiveness, moving forward, for the family. He said he was still hurt, but maybe this could be a chance for them to close the chapter. Jace replied like a golden retriever who just found a steak. He was thrilled. He offered to pay for Ethan's suit, his travel, everything. And Ethan, being a man who understood capitalism and revenge, said yes. Why spend your own money to attend your enemy's wedding when they're offering a sponsorship package? The weeks leading up to the wedding were a slow burn. Jace sent photos of venues. Mara sent polite messages that sounded like HR emails. Ethan didn't respond much. He was busy. Busy doing what? Scarlett? Writing. Ethan wrote a speech. Not the sweet kind. Not the I remember when you two first met kind. This speech was a confession wrapped in a toast. It was everything he'd swallowed for 3 years. Every sleepless night. Every intrusive memory. Every time he wondered if he was stupid for believing them. He put it all on paper like he was exorcising a demon. And the thing about bottled pain? Once you uncork it, it doesn't politely whisper out. It floods. Wedding day. The venue looked like a fairy tale. White flowers.
Candlelight.
String quartets making everyone feel classy even if they had credit card debt. The guests looked expensive. The kind of expensive where you can't tell if the diamonds are real or if they're just confident. The family was there. Ethan's parents.
Aunts.
Uncles. Cousins. Mara's side too. Everyone smiling. Everyone unaware of the rot beneath the frosting. And Jace? Jace looked smug. Like head won. Which, my friends, if your prize is a woman who cheated with your cousin, did you win? Or did you just inherit a problem? Ethan wore the suit Jace paid for. It fit perfectly. Because revenge is best served tailored. He stood at the altar area while people took their seats. And here's the part that made my skin crawl. Mara looked at Ethan and smiled like they were all adults now. Like time had magically erased what she did. Like betrayal has an expiration date. No, sweetheart. The expiration date is when the betrayed person decides you're irrelevant.
And Ethan?
He wasn't there to be irrelevant. The ceremony happened. Vows about loyalty. About honesty. About choosing each other. I know. I'm laughing too. Ethan listened, jaw tight, as Mara promised forever to the man she'd proven she can't even promise a weekend to. Then came the reception. Dinner.
Drinks. Toasts.
And the microphone, the little shiny weapon waiting on a stand. When it was time for the best man speech, the DJ announced Ethan with that cheerful voice DJs use when they don't know they're about to witness emotional arson. Ethan walked up. He looked at Jace. He looked at Mara. He looked at the crowd. And he started. His voice shook at first. Not because he was scared of them. Because he was grieving what he used to be. He smiled slightly, like he was about to tell a joke. Hello, everyone. I'm not great at public speaking, so apologies in advance. People chuckled.
Warm.
Expectant. And then Ethan said the sentence that turned the room into stone. It's an honor to be here, especially since the last time I spoke to the bride and groom was when I found them in my bed. Silence. Not dramatic gasps. Not screams. Just silence. The kind of silence where everyone's brain is buffering. Ethan kept going.
He didn't shout.
He didn't perform. He just told the truth. He told them Mara was his partner for 2 years. That had been saving for a ring. That had come home early and found them together. That Jace didn't make a mistake. He made a choice. He dragged the family bond into Ethan's bedroom and set it on fire. Ethan said names. Not slurs. Not anything that would get this video demonetized, my friends. But names like coward, liar, parasite. Words that don't bruise the skin. They bruise the ego. Then he smiled again. A soft, poisonous smile. I've heard half of marriages end in divorce. I hope yours is messy. And then because Ethan had been polite for 3 years, she ended with, from the bottom of my heart, you both deserve exactly what you've given. He put the microphone back. He didn't wait for applause. He didn't wait for chaos. He walked out. My friends, if you could have seen the guests. Some looked horrified. Some looked like they were replaying every "we always wondered what happened between them" conversation they ever had. A few people looked not surprised. Which is always the nastiest twist, isn't it? When you realize some people suspected and just didn't care enough to ask. Ethan got into his car and drove. His hands were shaking. His throat burned. Catharsis doesn't feel like a spa day. It feels like ripping out a splinter that's been infected for years. Then his phone rang. His mother. He answered because hope dies hard. She screamed.
How could he do that?
How could he ruin their wedding? How could he embarrass the family? Ethan listened. And then he said something that made the silence on the other end even louder. So you knew. His mother hesitated. Just for a beat. But it was enough. Ethan's stomach dropped. All this time, he thought he was protecting the family by staying quiet. But the family had been protecting them by staying quiet. Mara and Jace weren't just cheaters. They were beneficiaries of a cover-up. Ethan laughed once, sharp and ugly. And he hung up. Because at that point, what was there left to say? The fallout came fast. Texts from relatives calling Ethan cruel. Messages from Mara's side saying he was immature. One aunt even said, "You should have moved on." My friends, move on is what people say when they want you to stop making their comfort inconvenient. But not everyone was against him. A few cousins, quiet ones, texted support. One message said, "I'm sorry. I didn't know. I'm here if you want to talk." And that one nearly broke Ethan. Because it was the first time in 3 years someone acknowledged he wasn't the villain for bleeding. Days later, Ethan found out the wedding didn't just get awkward.
It cracked.
Guests left early. Mara cried so hard she smeared her makeup into a Gothic painting. Jace punched a wall in the men's room because of course he did. The man's emotional range is drywall. And the family group chat turned into a battlefield. Suddenly, everyone had opinions. Ethan was the villain. Ethan was the problem. Ethan was holding on to the past. But here's the detail that made this story go full Gossip Girl. Someone recorded the speech.
Of course they did.
And within hours, it hit social media through an anonymous account called East Side Whispers. Spotted a groom's secret best man turning into the Grim Reaper of consequences. The clip went viral in their circles. Not global viral. Not talk show viral. But the kind of viral that matters in wealthy families, the one that gets you uninvited from charity galas. And my friend's Mara's mother, who lived for appearances, allegedly called Ethan's mother and said, "How could you let your son do this?" As if Ethan was a dog who peed on the rug. As if Mara wasn't the one who set the house on fire. Then came the cherry on top. Ethan got a message from someone he didn't recognize. A bridesmaid. Mara's bridesmaid. She said, "I didn't know. She told us you were toxic and controlling. That you abandoned her."
Oh, sweetheart. Of course she did.
Because cheaters don't just cheat, they rewrite history, so they can sleep at night. The bridesmaid ended the message with, "I'm sorry. You didn't deserve that." Ethan stared at the screen for a long time. And for the first time since that day in his bedroom, he felt something loosen. Not forgiveness. Not peace. Just validation. And yes, my friend's validation is petty, but it's also medicine. Now, here's the AITA moment. Ethan didn't deny what he did. He didn't pretend it was an accident. When asked, he said, They deserved to feel a fraction of what they made me feel. And people are split. Some say he was cruel.
Some say he was honest.
Some say he should have told the family sooner. And some of me favorite category say, why did they invite him and give him a microphone? That's like handing matches to someone you soaked in gasoline.
Exactly.
So let me ask you, my friends, if your ex cheated on you with your cousin, if your family protected them, if they invited you to the wedding like you were a decorative prop, would you stay silent to be classy? Or would you do what Ethan did, tell the truth where it hurts the most?
Se você chegou até aqui, apoie com o like.
Because I need to know, was Ethan the villain or was he the consequence? And be honest, if you were sitting in that audience, would you have been horrified? Or would you have been chewing your steak like, finally someone said it? Ethan didn't win. He didn't get a trophy. He didn't get his old life back. But he did get something rarer. He got the truth out of his chest and into the room where it belonged. He stopped carrying their shame for them. And Mara and Jace? They got a wedding they'll never forget. Not because of the flowers. Not because of the music. Because for once, the story was told correctly. So, my friends AITA? Was Ethan wrong for crushing their fantasy with reality? Was it petty justice or emotional self-defense? And if you were Ethan, would you have gone further? Or would you have walked away and let karma do the slow work? Comment below. My friends, I need to know what you would do in this situation.